So we talk about French-speaking countries. So I'm sure you will all be very happy that we're going to do that in French. That work for everyone? Good. So obviously we're not going to do it in Spanish either. So thank you for receiving us here, but I will not be able to do it in Spanish. I'm not sure my colleagues here will be either. So we talk a lot about journeys. Jackie, you mentioned journeys through a DAB+ in the world. I think Megan mentioned journeys in Australia, New Zealand, and there is a little echo here. USA, UK, and so on. We're going to take a smaller journey here between Belgium, France, and Switzerland. So with the 3% that are with me today, so we are going to cover the 3 countries and the stage of development of DAB+ in these 3 countries. And more important, what does that mean for the industry, and what do they require from the car industry to make sure that DAB+ happens in this country? So as I said, Belgium, France, and Switzerland are very different stages of DAB+ deployment. And you'll hear through our panel here the current status in each country and actionable recommendation, hopefully. So we'll try to summarize that at the end. But we're going to start our journey with Belgium. I'm pleased to welcome Eric Adelbrecht, and he's managing administrator of maradio.be. Eric, can you briefly introduce yourself and what maradio.be is all about?
Yes. First of all, muchas gracias. That's my only Spanish word. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm the CEO of maradio.be. I've been working for radio industry since 1987, something like that. I've been all around different broadcasters as a general manager, and now I've been appointed CEO since 7 years of maradio.be. Maradio.be is a non-profitable organization owned by all the French-speaking broadcasters, public and private, and we are backed up by the government. We've got subsidies to promote and accelerate the digital transition of radio within our territory.
Very good. So we talk a lot about collaboration. It's exactly an example of what collaboration means in one country. So we talked about numbers earlier with Megan mostly, but every year in Belgium you run comprehensive surveys about radio in general and DAB+ in particular. Could you share some of these key numbers in Belgium, and especially in cars?
Yeah, we do that since 2018, and each year we look at all the figures and the evolution, which is quite important for us. And if we stay on cars, my first number is 23% of the French listeners, Belgian French speakers listeners, listen to radio in their car every day, and 97% of them are doing it through FM DAB+. It shows really for us the importance of over the air, as we saw that, our terrestrial broadcasting of radio, and the really importance of DAB+ in the future, because people choose it really in majority. And also an important figure is also that only 10 to 12% of the audience said that they listen to radio in the car through smartphones. So really terrestrial radio broadcasting is king for that.
It's even a bigger number than the number we heard from Megan earlier. We were talking about 72 to 80-ish%. So 97% of drivers listen to radio in their cars. Yeah. So a massive number.
Yeah. And maybe another interesting figure is 33% of the listeners are already equipped with a car with DAB+. And we know that a lot of listeners don't know even that they have DAB+ in their car. So it must be higher than 33%, but still it's
So you 33. Just talk about awareness, basically, here. A few numbers on awareness about DAB+?
Yeah, awareness in Belgian French-speaking territory, but it's also the same in the Flemish part, in the north part of Belgium, with our colleagues who are there from DRV. We have an awareness of DAB+ of 80%. If you don't help, people say spontaneously, I know what DAB+ is, 80%. If you help them, it goes up to 85%. Of awareness. So it shows also that communication and common promotion of that for the listeners is really, really key for the success of DAB+ and digital listening.
So collaboration, communication, that's what you are saying, basically. Is there anything you would like our audience, and specifically the car manufacturer, to take away about DAB+ in-car from your perspective in Belgium?
Well, if you take the 97%, for me it leads to two messages. One message for the broadcasters, saying that DAB+ is the best way today, is the best way to continue to broadcast your programs efficiently in a strategic place, for free, easily, in a regulated way, and without third party. So DAB+, and Jackie, you said it, keeps the control. With DAB+, we keep the control and give satisfaction to the listeners. The second message is for the car manufacturers. You have to continue to put radio in your new dashboard, and especially on DAB+. We know it's difficult to adapt all those technologies with IP, DAB+, FM, sometimes still AM, but it is the key because we saw it. That's what listeners want, and they like that way of listening to radio. And maybe a last word for the government, because we don't talk too much about governments, but all the governments in Europe has to work together to protect radio on a national level, but also on a European level, because it's key, it's a democratic act to really protect the content, the talents that we have on all our territories, and we have to do it on a European level.
Thank you, Eric. I think strong messages which summarize basically what we also heard this morning with even better numbers in Belgium. Very good, thanks to the work of Ma Radio.be and your own work. So we are now moving, as we say in Belgium, outre-Quiévre. So that means we're crossing the border to France. And so I'm very pleased to introduce Charles-Emmanuel Bon. He's General Secretary of Radio France. Could you give us, Charles-Emmanuel, a quick introduction of what your role is at Radio France?
So I'm Secretary General, but for here in this capacity, I'm looking after distribution. I like operations, so I keep also broadcast on the side, so I can still do ops. But really my goal at Radio France is to make the transition between FM and DAB+. And really we're working together with all the sector, and that's my other hat, which is I'm also president of an association that brings together, it's called Ensemble pour le DAB+. It brings together all the broadcasters in France, tower companies, everybody in the sector is working together to make sure that DAB+ becomes a reality. It is already a reality. Javier said that the primary goal is coverage. Coverage is happening in France. It's already more than 7 French people out of 10 that are covered by DAB+. And at the end of 2026, it's going to be 90% of all motorways covered by DAB+. And we have used what we call a hub and spoke model, where we cover the cities, but also all the spokes between the hubs. And that's something that is really important to keep in mind for automotive manufacturers, that automotive is the primary tool for us to get to a full transition to DAB+, because DAB+ is in the cars. We will see this afternoon that it needs to be enhanced in terms of the user experience. I think we'll all come from a simpler world where you had 3 buttons and then 6 channels. We probably need more consistency in the interface, but we'll see that this afternoon. DAB radio is in all cars sold in Europe. And that's really the key for us to bring the transition. And what we are doing to help this transition is that we are starting a plan to start to switch off some transmitters, not in the cities, but on the roads between the cities. That makes DAB+ even more important to reach and to make sure that consumers who love radio in the cars have access to a good DAB+ system in their cars that is easy to find, that works well with everything, voice control, etc. So that's a very important tool for us, is that we implement well DAB+ in cars, because that's the key tool for the transition.
Okay, and you mentioned coverage, so very important on highways and main road, right? You said 90% by end of 2026, that will be the coverage?
90%. And I add one thing, is that we are changing one of our channels. There's lots of music channels in France. There is no kid channel. And for those who have kids, we know that long journeys may be a bit difficult, because when you ask once when we arrive, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, the best way to keep kids entertained without a screen, everybody knows that screens are really bad for kids, is to have a good story, tailored for them, that they can listen to. So we will change one of our station, which is a music station, to a kids station, to target especially parents with young children in their cars. So we're really making sure that in your journey, in your car, you have all the entertainment that you need, and that entertainment comes from the AD.
So you are bringing value in the car by continuity of listening on one hand, and new content on the other hand at the national level with 26 radios, right? That's what happens at the national level.
That's 26 radios, but you have also lots of local stations. So in Paris, it will be more than 100 stations.
Yeah, at the regional level, there is much more stations. There is, I think, 700 stations in France covering different regions on DAB+. You mentioned to me that you have received a number of requests related to radio integration in car and on the dashboard. Can you share some insight and some specific requests that you have for the car manufacturers?
Yeah, basically, so since we started broadcasting in DAB+, at the beginning, we received lots of calls from FM and nothing from DAB+. We were a bit worried, does it work or not? But people were not equipped. And now that more and more people are equipped, we receive lots of listeners' comments on how the coverage works or not, doesn't work. The coverage is actually very good and much better than we anticipated, but the integration of the radio in the car is really what is driving the problem, because sometimes they don't know whether they listen to FM or to DAB+. Sometimes they cannot find how to switch from one source to the other, and I think that's why I was talking about consistency. What we found is that our listeners long for the consistency of the FM radio, and they would love to find a kind of more simple interface, something that they can really understand. So I think this afternoon we will talk about it. We have made some initiatives together with EBU, with AER, to make sure that all the audio content in the car is seamlessly integrated, and that we are a form of a hybrid radio, that is DAB+ and IP, and that works seamlessly together.
Okay, easy integration and seamless. Thank you, Charles-Emmanuel, for this insight. And finally, let's cross over another river, this time the Rhone River, to Switzerland. So I'm delighted to welcome Adriano Pitteri, Strategic Service Manager at SRG SSR, the public radio service in Switzerland. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Adriano? And then a major change took place in Switzerland at the beginning of this year.
Exactly. Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, it's also some years that I'm working for the DAB in both position, promotion of DAB, and now building the network with a fantastic team. And yeah, at the end of last year, we had the switch off of the FM for the public broadcaster, but also for some private broadcaster switched off some of their transmitter. And the fully switch off in Switzerland will be at the end of 2026 with the end of the license. And yeah, it was a big change for us.
And it took quite some time, right?
It took some time, yeah, absolutely. The journey of DAB began 25 years ago, 1999. But the turning point, the key moment was in 2014, where the entire radio industry came together and committed for a clear roadmap how to switch off with steps and how to integrate all this actor. And I think this was really a key moment to go on this way. And this enabled us to have 10 years of marketing and communication action, very targeted to everyone, but also with specific action to the key stakeholder, the car industry, the retail, and to be sure that everyone is part of this, but above all, the awareness of the people, to be sure that everyone is knowing what's happening. And the result of this was that since 2019, DAB+ is the major medium of listening radio in Switzerland.
So it's not just technology, it's about collaboration everywhere, up to the retailers and sellers. And what was the biggest surprise you had during that switch off that you started in January?
I think the few reactions that we had, and this is especially done because we had an excellent communication that we ran last year with a heavy communication on all media, but also specific on the radio, so FM transmitter, where we put a message to say, hey, you're still listening FM, we will switch off in a few weeks or months. And I think all this together with also a lot of support organization, we had chatbot, call center, and so on to help the people, and all this gave us the possibility to have a good switchover and guiding the people on the path of the switch off. And above all, I think we're happy that all worked like the plan that we had.
Like a charm. That's good. That's good. So is there anything that you would like this audience to remember from your experience, any takeaway that you would like the industry or people in this audience to take from your experience?
Yeah. I repeat, but I think the key element is the collaboration. Really talk to each other, and the collaboration is really this key of the transmission. And as I said before, the 2014, where the entire radio industry came together, we created a working group with everybody from the industry, the regulator, we had all the radio stations, public, private, community radios, and also all the other players, the DAB network operator, and the key industries like retail and the car industry. And
we have a red flag.
Yeah, I finished very quickly, but all this together was very important.
So you mentioned something else to me, which is very important. You have a lot of radios in Switzerland, and in some places, you have more than 300 different services. And you noticed something which was a surprise to me.
Yeah, absolutely. The success of radio, with over 300 reception, we saw that some receiver, especially in the aftermarket sector, wasn't able to have only 100 or 200 programs. So car maker and radio receiver maker, please be aware that your receiver can handle such a big success of radio, so over 300 stations. And perhaps we talked from C, the coverage. Coverage is also a very important point for the user experience over this journey, and we're very happy in Switzerland to have 99.7% of the population that is covered. Cool. That's amazing, and this was a common work from everybody, and this helped also very well to do this switch.
Thank you, Adriano. This last words will conclude our panel here. I just want to summarize a few things I heard. Coverage is essential, that's what you mentioned. Collaboration is key. Integration needs to be easy in the car. So the user experience is still evolving. We need to talk together to make sure we understand what the user is telling us and how we integrate DAB+ in cars. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you found that useful, and have a nice day. Merci.